Good morning. I'm happy to be with you. We are here today with our next Oddities, Authors, and Stories. This program is brought to you by the Alexander Hamilton Memorial Free Library, the first Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m. Our staffer, Miss Jessica Brown, I want to thank her for doing the research and the writing behind these oddity stories. She does a wonderful job. As always, I need to add a disclaimer. The content and information presented in this program do not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the Alexander Hamilton Memorial Free Library or the staff. Now, Rudyard Kipling and his son. This is titled The Cost of War. We're going to take a look at a story about a writer you may know. It's devastating to learn that a loved one lost their life during a war, regardless of which side they were on. And it's even more difficult to reconcile that said loved one died for the greater good or a noble cause. The Jungle Book author Rudyard Kipling had to learn this painful truth the hard way. The year was 1914. Great Britain was in the throes of World War I. Kipling, who was already an influential writer thanks to the Jungle Book, was commissioned by the British government, along with other writers such as H.G. Wells, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and Thomas Hardy, to write pro-war propaganda. Kipling, an imperialist, was eager to do this job. This was during a time when the British Empire was at its peak, and they wanted to stay that way. The people of Britain and other allied nations were appalled by the alleged war crimes of the German army, such as the rape of Belgium, the sinking of the Lusitania, and the horrifying use of chemicals in the trenches. This created more anti-German sentiment, upon which Kipling wrote a lot of his propaganda on. At home, Rudyard was married to an American-born wife, Caroline, or Carrie. At the time, they had two surviving children, Elise and John, as their third child, Josephine, had died from pneumonia at the age of 7. John Kipling was enthusiastic to join the army and fight, despite his severe nearsightedness, which denied him service in the Royal Navy. Rudyard, who was frequently encouraging John to join, pulled some strings to get John an officer's commission into the Irish Guards. The colonel of the Irish Guards, Frederick Roberts, was a close friend of Rudyard and assured Rudyard that John would get in. John was commissioned as a second lieutenant officer just 2 days shy of his 17th birthday. When the Irish Guard was moved to the Western Front outside of Loos, that was when all communication stopped between John and his family. John was declared missing in action via a telegram. British forces suffered heavy losses in the Western Front, so it was likely that John had died, but his body had not been found. Not wanting to lose hope, Rudyard and the rest of his family started searching field hospitals. They tracked down and interviewed other soldiers in John's division in the hopes that he may still be alive. Unfortunately, during one of these interviews, he received confirmation that John was indeed killed at the Battle of Loos, somewhere between September 25th and October 8th of 1915. It is believed that he had lost his glasses during the skirmish and wandered out into no man's land looking for them when he was shot down by machine gun fire. He was only 18 years old. His body wasn't found until 1992, but there is still some dispute as to whether it's his or not. The news devastated Rudyard and his family. Rudyard felt he was to blame for sending his only son to die. And like a lot of writers, Kipling put his grief on paper. One poem he wrote was called My Boy Jack. The poem was actually about Jack Cromwell, a sailor who perished during the Battle of Jutland, the largest naval battle of World War I. While John was never referred to as Jack while he was alive, the poem is about the grief of losing a child to war, a grief that Kipling knew all too well. He also became involved with the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, then called the Imperial War Graves Commission, that records and maintains the graves of those who had died during the war. To quote another one of his poems since the war, Epitaphs of the War, question why we die. Tell them because our fathers lied. I'd like to share this poem he wrote, titled A father's advice to his son. If any, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can and not be tired of waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make your dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build up with worn out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings, and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distant run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Rudyard Kipling, A Father's Advice to His Son. Well, thank you for letting me be a part of your day. I hope you have a wonderful week going forward. And again, we will talk to you with more oddities, authors, and stories next month on the first Wednesday of the month at 9 a.m. right here. Have a good one.